We are live. We have a very, very big show for you today, guys. Brendan Schaub is back at it. Your guys' favorite podcaster, favorite MMA fighter, favorite comedian, favorite gearhead. Brendan Schaub says Trump knows nothing. We're going to get into all that. And then in the same episode, he also said that he would fight a very specific, very dangerous legendary fighter in bare knuckle MMA. We're going to get into all that. And then this is a big, big evening because this will be my last video for the foreseeable future about Brendan Schaub because I actually like his podcast. I'm a fan of his work. I saw your guys' comments. You guys have a lot of valid points. I don't think you should be suing people or whatever. I don't know the details of it, but apparently he also had sued some people who commented about him in a derogatory manner. And, I get why that would upset people, but everything I've seen of him has been like entertaining to me. And he gets me clicks, guys. He gets me clicks, but I don't want to rely on somebody else as a crutch to get clicks. So we're going to mix it up in the future. So this is the last video that I'm doing for the foreseeable future about Brendan Schaub. I know you guys want to see me throw him under the bus, but for the time being, I'm not going to talk about him after we get into what he said today. Also, I watched the Strickland versus Hamzat UFC countdown. Man, somebody's lying, guys. Somebody is lying. Either Strickland's lying or Hamzat's lying. Fortunately for you guys, I train at Extreme Couture. Strickland trains at Extreme Couture. I've got some insider info. We're going to get into that. We're also going to get into the fact that I was supposed to see the Hulk Hogan documentary, episode 4. My manager couldn't make it, guys. So we've postponed that. That should be tomorrow. Got a little bit of a story time today as well, talking about when Felony and I trained, and then I went back to MMA practice at Extreme Couture because some of you guys are curious at how brutal the MMA practices are at Extreme. We're going to get into all that. And man, also, I've been watching this fucking podcast about pro wrestling because my uncle's documentary's out, and it's bringing me back to memory lane. And so I've been watching this podcast called 83 Weeks with Eric Bischoff, who I believe is a genius. And Eric doesn't quite get as much credit in the pro wrestling world as I believe he should. I think he's a fucking instrumental player. He did make the WWE Hall of Fame, so at least he got recognized in that regard. But when people talk about influential people in pro wrestling, sometimes Eric gets glossed over, and he shouldn't, man. That guy is a fucking legend. And he had a really good quote. We're going to get into that. Also, guys, for you real ones, I see you guys in the chat. We're going to get to the chat right now. But for the real ones that have subscriptions on, that have their notifications on, that are hitting the chat, that are turning this from a monologue into a dialogue, from a rant into a conversation. If you're a real one, I got real one tees. Okay, guys, I got real one tees. They're in the description of the last few lives that I've done. I'm going to put it in the description of this live after. So if you want to get a real one tee, go grab that, right? I might start rocking the Faith Over Fear shirt and real one tees everywhere I go. And that might be my whole wardrobe. I might have to switch the whole thing out, guys. I might have to switch the whole thing out. And if we got time, I went on a road trip recently with my girlfriend. My girlfriend's moving to Vegas, guys. Okay, that's a big update, big personal update. Shout out to my girlfriend. She's a freaking dime piece genius, fucking philosopher extraordinary. She excels at everything. But we went on a road trip across America. And I want to know if you guys have ever been to a Buc-ee's. Because if you have not, it's a life-changing experience. And if you have, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If we have time, we're going to get into that. Let me check the chat real quick. My name is King David MMA. I'll be your host for the evening. I'm a pro MMA champion, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. For the sake of this video, I'm even going to bring up the fact that I'm Hulk Hogan's nephew because we're going to discuss Hulk's documentary a bit. And that's relevant information when I say something about the documentary that may or may not be true, that I have inside information because I'm related to the dude, right? RIP. Also, guys, I coach at Extreme Couture. So when we talk about the Strickland Hamzat beef that's going on right now, I've been there for some of it. Okay. So, like, firsthand knowledge of what goes on with those guys at Extreme Couture. All right. Let me check the chat real quick. Arpon the Dawn. The real ones are here. Yes, that is true. John Hogan in the chat. Hey, what's up, everyone? Waving hand emoji. You know I fuck with emojis super hard. I know. Listen, okay. That's one thing about Gen Z, and one thing about the Zoomers is they don't fuck with the emojis quite as hard as previous generations. Sometimes they just draw them, right? I like a visible, colorful emoji. That's what I like. Okay, call me old school. Call me old school. We got Felicia Bell in the chat. Flame emoji, fire, fire. Let's go. She goes, "What's up?" Asa, is Asa on here too, or are you with him right now? Speaking of which, show him what we went over with Keith. I was thinking about this today, and I'm gonna send him the video too. But show him what we went over with Keith about the front headlock, and I sent you the video about Justin Gaethje and Patty Pimblett. Remember to show Asa because I think it will work for Asa. But I think Asa leg rides a little more than you leg rode in wrestling. Pause. So but either way, he's still got a good front headlock, so he'll be able to know what to do from there. All right. So, anyways, listen, you know what I'm saying, guys? Sometimes I get distracted, right? I love martial arts. So we start talking martial arts, I get up onto a tangent. Okay, I'm on. He says, thank you. Oh, you're on it? Okay, cool. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Yeah, I was thinking about that today because I know he's got a fight coming up. So yeah, we're gonna get into it right now. Let me take a sip of this caffeinated beverage. I went crazy today, guys. Okay. I turned my phone off for 3 hours, right? Sat alone, quiet with myself. Breathing in peace and serenity. I went in the backyard. I grounded in the grass. I jumped in the pool. Did whatever I felt like doing for 3 hours straight. You know what I mean? Nobody blowing my phone up. Nobody telling me that they want to collab or they saw me going viral over that other thing that happened or anything like that. Or people telling me you should play it this way or that way or any of that. And if you guys know what I went viral for on Instagram recently, I don't want to play it anyway, right? The dude I went viral calling out, he's done damage to children. And I don't want to benefit off that. So I have mixed feelings even about the fact that that went viral. You know what I'm saying? And then I've got people who mean well telling me, oh, play it this way. I'm like, play it? Play it? Anyway. Yeah, that's another note. That's what I'm saying. So on the I think one live ago or two lives ago, I talked about going viral and how it's important to understand who you are as a person if you want any kind of fame or virality. Because if you go viral for something that's not authentic to you, it can be really crazy because then people want more of that. And if that's not you, that's a very, very bizarre place to be where you benefit by being not in alignment with your actual self. Dude, it gets weird, right? So if I were to say one thing about virality and fame, find out who you are, stay true to it. And I happen to love caffeine. This is a Whole Foods 0 calorie cola. While I was here today, I drank maybe 5 energy drinks, 5 of those Zevias. So that put me at 600. I had like 3 or 4 of those. These are 34 each. So do the math on that. There's another 120, 136. So I'm at 736 ish. Light start to the day. It's only 10:39 p.m. We're starting early. The night is still young. We can get another 300 milligrams of caffeine. We got, okay, respect. King Dave with the integrity. Fire emoji, fire emoji. Stay true. Yeah, very important these days. Stay true out here. And, let me get into this right now. Because if it were up to me, guys, you know what I would rant about? I would rant about how awesome my girlfriend is. That's what I would do. All chat all day long. I would talk about happy things and good vibes and meditation and spirituality and philosophy and love and relationships, all that, right? But guess what? Today we're going to talk about something quite different. We're going to talk about conflict. We're going to talk about combat. We're going to talk about Sean Strickland versus Hamzat Chimaev. It dropped today. We're going to talk about Brendan Schaub calling out Trump. He says Trump does not know a thing about UFC. That's why Trump said there was going to be 6 or 7 title fights I'm not going to make the joke, okay? I'm not going to do it. He said there's going to be 6 or 7 title fights at the UFC White House. Brendan Schaub says Trump does not know anything about UFC. That's why he said that. Yet, people can be, listen, there's a lot to be critical, right? A lot to be critical about. One thing that Trump did do right is he got us Josh Hokett on the UFC White House card. He got us another fight, okay? So, despite any critical feedback one might have about the dude, and trust me, I get it. It's a lot of it's justified. He did get us an extra fight, right? So whatever you want to say about the dude, he got us the Josh Hokett fight. Yet Brandon Schaub says that Trump doesn't know anything about the UFC, and I would disagree. I would disagree. I feel, listen, the dude's been around for a long time. His favorite fighter is Khabib, which I don't understand because he's American, but he has a Russian favorite fighter. You know what I mean? There's a lot to dissect in that. And we can get into that. The story of Dana and Trump, how they started at Trump Taj Mahal when the UFC wasn't even allowed anywhere. Trump allowed the UFC to be at his casino. And that's how they developed a friendship. But more importantly than the Trump UFC connection, Brendan Schaub said this today. And this is what inspired me to do one last video, because this serves both of us. This serves me as a Brendan Schaub fan, and it serves you guys as Brendan Schaub detractors. And from what I see in the comments, there's a lot of justified things that on the surface look very valid to be critical about. So this fight that Brendan Schaub said he would do today, he said he would be down. Those were his words. I'd be down. I'd be down. One of his co-hosts said, man, Yoel Romero and bare knuckle MMA, would you fight him? And Brendan Schaub said he would be down. They said it the way that they posed it to him was like, oh, you'd fight so-and-so, you'd fight so, oh, Yoel Romero. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're not going to say yes to this one type energy. And Brendan Schaub said yes. So, me, and you guys can roast me in the comments if you like, a Brendan Schaub fan. I'm a fan of his podcast. I'm a fan of his fighting career. I get it. There's plenty you guys are bringing. I get it. All that, right? Don't sue people. I'm not into lawsuits, right? But as a fan, and as a fan of seeing what's possible, as a fan of stepping up, as a fan of challenging oneself, if Brendan Schaub were to wrap his wrists up and get in there and fight in Game Bread FC, Game Bread MMA, bare knuckle against Yoel Romero, him stepping up to the challenge, man, dude, I would be fucking thrilled to see him do that. And likewise, I understand that you guys would be thrilled to see Yoel Romero bounce Yoel's fists off Brendan Schaub's face. Because I guarantee you that if Brendan Schaub took that fight, the general population would have Brendan Schaub as an underdog. And rightfully so, because Yoel Romero's been active. Yoel Romero just beat a dude up bare knuckle in that same event. Yoel Romero looks like he's reversing aging. He's going to RAF. He's going to RAF, my bad. He's going to RAF, and he's like blast doubling dudes. You know what I mean? Like competitive modern wrestlers that are in their prime. They're going against Yoel, and Yoel's like, hey, watch this. Boom, blast double. So Yoel is like, whatever he's doing to anti-age, man, we gotta find that out, and we gotta get the storyline on that, right? Because some of us want to live forever, okay? And Yoel might be the first person who actually does live forever based on his current trajectory. So yeah, I believe that Yoel would be the favorite in that fight. I believe a lot of you guys would want to see Brendan Schaub get beat up. I would like to see Brendan Schaub rise to the challenge and fight Yoel Romero. And if he could pull it off, man, maybe he could silence some of the critics. But I'm pretty sure none of the critics think that he could do it, right? So I would absolutely love to see that fight. And I hope that they would both get a huge bag for it. All right. So that completes my final Brendan Schaub segment. Although it gets me views, guys, I was just telling you guys about authenticity and integrity, and I'm going to stick to what I talk about. So I'm not going to talk about Brendan Schaub for, let's call it, today is May 3rd. Let's call it at least 2 weeks. All right. 2 weeks, no matter what the dude does. Okay. I'm not bringing him up and putting him in a title and a thumbnail just because it gets clicks. Okay. We're going to try and branch out, and we're going to try and get views from other content and other subject matter. Speaking of other controversial subject matter, you guys want to talk integrity? You want to talk honesty? You want to talk conflict? You want to talk putting it all on the line? You want to talk big stakes? You want to talk risking it all? Dude, Strickland versus Hamzat. The UFC countdown just dropped, and they have two very different stories about what happened in training. Let me read the chat real quick. I don't even know what you're talking about. But listen, people are chatting. So shout out to, I don't even know what's going on in the chat, but hey, listen. So Hamzat and Strickland. Okay. Hamzat believes that he beat Strickland up. He believes that Strickland was ducking him because Strickland doesn't want hard rounds. Strickland believes Hamzat was picking on smaller guys. There's a specific person in question who I believe could make 155. But this guy fights at 170. And Hamzat may have done very well with that guy in training. But that's not a dude that Strickland would look to train with. And I can verify this. Strickland looks for the most difficult, most challenging, scariest, toughest rounds in the whole gym, in the whole world. You can see him sparring Alex Pereira, who has knocked him out in the octagon. So he's not afraid to go get a challenge. But Hamzat is saying that Strickland is. So who's telling the truth, guys? Well, listen. People are talking about the fact that Strickland is on video with Schmo, asking Schmo what happened in training. And Schmo says, well, I saw him submit you, which sometimes happens. What a lot of people are unaware of is that at Extreme Couture, we do very positional training. So in that round, let's say Hamzat starts with a body triangle on Strickland's back and like one grip, like in an over-under. You know what I'm saying? And then they say go. So Hamzat's already starting in the dominant position. Okay? So let's say he's choked. So let's say Hamzat chokes Strickland. From a position of dominance that the round starts in, because at Extreme, we always start in bad positions. We do several rounds of live, and then we do several rounds of bad positions. That way, when we get into a fight, if we're ever in a bad position, we're very prepared because we've been there thousands of times in training. So training at Extreme Couture is very intense, and no matter how good you are, you lose rounds from time to time because you get started in the worst positions possible. Sometimes they start you, they call it the Jake Shields, with your legs wrapped, as someone has a figure four over your legs, more recently called the Khabib, with like an American wrist ride, also called a Dagestani handcuff by people who are not quite as patriotic as some of us, right? So they got an American wrist ride. They're mounted with their legs figure forward on you, right? And they're on top and your back's on the cage. Go, start in that position. That position that like people had finished fights from. That's where we're starting from in practice. So when they showed the clip of Schmo talking to Strickland and Strickland going, hey, how'd I look? And then he goes, well, I thought he submitted you. Dude, that's from a bad position that they started in. Right? So anyways, so I'm not saying that Hamzat's not a G. I'm not saying that he's not running through training partners. I'm not saying any of that. All I'm saying is that there are dozens of people who were there that I trained with that saw the same thing, which was Hamzat was beating up a lot of people in practice and he did well in bad positions that he was starting in. Other people, and I wasn't there for this, but I'm talking very trustworthy people, high-ranking people at the gym. Hamzat and Strickland were sparring, and after the round, Strickland wanted more work, and Hamzat did not want more work. In the eyes of two people who are sparring, if you want more rounds and they don't want more rounds with you, oftentimes you can look at that as if that person quit. You made them quit. So when Strickland says he made Hamzat quit, I believe that's exactly what Strickland's talking about. Because Strickland always wants the worst rounds, the toughest rounds. I've never seen him try and get an easy round. He outweighs me by like 40, 50 pounds. I've asked him for rounds and he's like brushed me off. And I don't typically go to that practice. I'm not saying I'm calling out Strickland. None of that. I've sparred him 3 times. I didn't win a round. Okay. Bad. Not fun experience. And he was kind of chilling on me. Okay, guys, he was kind of chilling on me, right? That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that the 3 times that he gave me the round, it was like oh yeah, man, you want a round, we'll play around, like that kind of vibe. As opposed to like when he's in fight camp, he's looking to spar Francis. He's not playing around, guys. So when you guys watch the UFC countdown, watch it with that perspective. They both have very different stories. Very, very different stories. And somewhere, one of them isn't telling the truth. We're going to find out in the fight what happens, because the main thing is this. Whatever happens in the training room, that's the training room. And the fight can be very different. I'm picking Sean Strickland to win. I'm picking my Extreme Couture teammate. I'm picking the American. You guys want to pick whoever you want? Feel free. You guys want to come on a channel and hear somebody go, oh, well, if it's wrestler versus striker, that's not me. Okay? We go hard with the picks, right? We take sides. And guess what? If I'm wrong, you guys can come back on here and blast me. But I'm not going to be wrong. I'm going to be right, because I have insider info. Do with that what you will. That's my experience at Extreme Couture. And speaking of how brutal the training is, me thinking I'm tight, right? Felony Charles Bennett lived with me for his last 2 fight camps. Okay. He got a second round KO in bare knuckle. And then in his next bare knuckle fight, he dropped the dude twice in the first round. We had him in shape. We're sparring 10 3-minute rounds with 30-second rest. And half the time, nobody else is showing up because Felony hits hard. And a lot of people don't want to spar Felony 10 rounds. But guess what? I'm like, I can push the pace. I'm bigger than him. You know what I mean? And I can push the pace, and I like to do clinch work, and I like to make the fight advantageous to me in the sparring rounds, right? So we're doing this. Pushing 10 threes, 30-second rest. I feel like I'm in great shape. I take my happy ass to Extreme Couture Pro practice. And I get fucking balled the fuck up. And I hadn't been there in fucking a minute, guys. And just by not going every freaking day and still getting 10 rounds of sparring, I had lost so much cardio that I could barely fight back. I felt like it was the first time I pulled up to Extreme. It was almost that bad. The first time I pulled up to Extreme, this is not hyperbole. This is not me trying to sell you on Extreme. Don't go to Extreme. It's not for everybody. First time I went to pro practice, I fucking threw up in my mouth. I was like, dude, when is this fucking practice gonna end? It was fucking savage and I'm good. I'm a pro MMA champion, right? Like, dude, people you've never heard of just getting after it, right? And so that's one of the reasons why I love Extreme Couture, because the room is so fucking good. And we had to split the practice. We used to all practice together, but there's so many good guys. We split the practice. It goes 170 and above. That's the practice Strickland, Hamzat, all those dudes were at when all this went down. And then there's the under 170 practice. That's where I go, right? I fancy myself a 145-pound fighter. Now, I fought up at that because, let's be real, cutting weight and dieting sucks. This belt was at 165 pounds because I was like, dude, This guy wants to fight me. I'll beat the brakes off that guy. That's free belt and free money. That's how I looked at it. And I learned the free money concept from my other teammate, Chris Curtis, who looks at a lot of the regional opponents like, bro, what do you mean? What are you asking me about this guy for? Watch him, bro. It's free money. Dude, I watched 30 seconds of him, bro. Go fight that guy. Free money. Right. So we looked at this dude like free money, right? So I went up, you know, a weight class or whatever. This was a 165-pound catch weight, right? But because I was getting my ass fucking beat at Extreme Couture every day, when I get in there with this dude, I'm like, oh, this guy's getting tired. Oh shit. Oh, okay, let's fucking go, right? So that's my experience at Extreme Couture. So it's very brutal. And I'm gonna go back to pro practice again this week. And it's what I've got to do because it's the condition I like to be in. But getting back into that shape, there's a fucking learning curve of like your body has to adjust. So I'm gonna be taking fucking L's for like the next 2-3 weeks, dude. And I'm dreading it. I'm absolutely fucking dreading it. But on the other end of it, I know I'm gonna be better and I'm gonna be happy and I'm gonna be in good cardio and I'm gonna get this fucking this little baby fat off me. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be looking. I mean, jawline's already chiseled, you know? I don't know how I can get more chiseled than this, but I'm gonna, right? So I'm gonna be popping back up to pro practice at Extreme Couture. I saw it. And if you know, you know, guys. If you've been there, you know. Right. Speaking of crazy things, I saw a really cool theory today. And it was when I was watching that 83 Weeks podcast, which is Eric Bischoff's podcast. And he named it 83 Weeks because when he took over the WCW, they beat WWE, WWF for 83 weeks straight. And that was the legendary NWO run. We're getting off into the weeds in pro wrestling right now. But I've been off in the weeds in pro wrestling because my uncle has a documentary on Netflix right now. And because I watched 3 episodes of it, I'm going down all these pro wrestling rabbit holes. And Eric Bischoff had a quote. And his quote was that I'm getting texted. I don't know how to turn off the text on my motherfucker. Let me see if I can do this. Options. I don't know. I don't know how to work technology. Okay, guys. So Eric Bischoff has this theory. And I thought this was fire, right? This is fucking fire to me. He goes, you can slow a fast horse down, but it's really hard to speed a slow horse up. So whenever he was looking for people to carry the company in his pro wrestling career, he was always looking for a fast horse that might be doing too much, might be too over the top, might be too crazy, might be partying too hard, but you could slow him down a little bit and get him to be professional rather than a slow horse that you got to constantly motivate. And so I've noticed that the best people, because as a coach, the best people to coach are fucking fast horses, right? You can get them to run in the lines, they're still fast. You can get them to go on the whistle, they're still fast. But to get a slow horse to speed up, to try and convince somebody to get to practice, to get somebody to show up on time, oh man, you can't want their martial arts success more than they want it. And that applies to any area of your life. Friendships, business, martial arts, finding a gym buddy, you know what I mean? A relationship with somebody. Dude, listen, don't try and speed up slow horses. If you're a fast horse, find a fast horse. And guess what? If you're a slow horse, a fast horse would probably upset you. You know what I mean? So I thought that was really fucking interesting that that's what Eric Bischoff was looking for, was the fast horse theory. Right. And can somebody change? Yeah. Right. But like, you have limited resources, you have limited time. If you're going to put energy into developing a talent, find somebody that's already cooking. Find somebody that's already cooking and then just help steer them in the right direction because they're already self-motivated. Man, holy fuck, dude. That's why that guy was successful. And so I'm very into like success leaves clues. So I'll go get some game from anybody. Eric Bischoff's talking about pro wrestling in the 90s, and I can get a nugget, right? So don't be afraid to learn from people. All right, let me look. Taking notes for a bet. Dude, bro, betting is so sketchy. I bet one time in my life, and I had a shoe-in bet because I had trained with people and I had like I'm talking like one person should obliterate the other person. What I didn't know is that person one who should by all means obliterate person two who was good, but they were fighting someone fucking great. And I had deep knowledge of these people's skill sets. To me, the fight seemed crazy. To me, the fight seemed one side. I was like, dude, this is a fucking blowout. And I happen to have $4,500 cash sitting around. I said, man, I'm going to flip this real quick. I'm going to have I'm going to take this 4,500 and like turn it into 7. Right. And even though the dude that was supposed to win was the favorite, it was such a sure thing. I was taking worse odds. Cause I was like, this is a fucking lock. But knowledge is king. And the knowledge that I did not have for this sure thing was that person A, as great as they were, and as legendary as they were, and as many people as they had beat, and like I'm talking levels better competition. I did not know that they had started drinking again. And I didn't know that they previously had a drinking problem, and I didn't know, like, you get what I'm saying? And so all this shit behind the scenes had happened that I had no knowledge of. And this person came in to fight, essentially wanting a paycheck, and they had other priorities, which was the bar. Man, the person who I was sure was going to lose won. And while I knew these people personally, I was happy for them winning. But I lost $4,500 fucking dollars in one bet, and I said I'm never betting again. So that's my experience with gambling, guys. All right, take that as a learning lesson if you like. If not, go be a degenerate. That's why. Listen, man, I have this problem too. I have an affinity for people who are degenerate gamblers, like for real, for real. Like I was watching Steve Will Do It. I was watching a podcast with him with Steiny, and I'm like, dude, I fuck with that guy. That guy's putting like 100K on a hand. I'm like, dude, fuck yeah. Because when I put the 4,500 on, that's the money I had. I put everything on the bet. You get what I'm saying? And so that's why I don't gamble to this day. Because I know myself. I don't want to win a little. I want to fucking crush it. I want to double it up. I want to fucking win and then fucking win again. And that's my personality. So when I see that in other people, I fucking love it. And even though it's not for me because I had fucking forced myself to be disciplined and not do it, it's fucking calling me. You know what I'm saying? So when I see other people doing it and doing crazy shit, I like to live vicariously through that. So when I see even you guys are as critical as Dana White, when Dana White's betting 100 G's a hand and Steve Will Do It's betting 100 G's a hand, come on, man. What's more exciting than that? And like, okay, so the other day I was cornering felony Charles Bennett at Bare Knuckle in Hawaii, and Mickey Mace was cornering with me. Mickey Mace is like one of the biggest gambling influencers on the planet. He got Vegas for $1 million a week. At one point, he got him for like 11 million in a run. The dude is fucking whatever he's doing is working, right? If you were to ask me, do I believe that he is able to spot edges? I would believe that that is contributing to his success. But that's kind of the name of the game, right? It's not just, I mean, you want to be lucky, but you also want to know sure things. Like I thought I knew, but I didn't, right? So, anyways, Mickey Mace is like telling gambling stories, you know? And I disagree with that dude on so much shit, right? That guy's talking about like he wants anarchy in the streets. And I'm like, bro, I like fucking order in the streets. The countries I've been to, the states that I've been to with the most order, I liked that, right? Like if you've ever been to Utah and you stop at a public restroom, it's fucking pristine, right? I'm into that. I'm not into fucking anarchy. So, anyways, Mickey and I disagree on that, right? But like, I still fuck with the dude in a lot of ways because I'm like, bro, like that like putting it all on the line, fucking big stakes, right? And so that's one of the reasons I like fighting. It's because you put it on the fucking line, right? I got something to say. This motherfucker has something to say. We're gonna get in this fucking cage and we're gonna put it on the fucking line. Right. And we're gonna fucking redline it and we're gonna see who pulls off the fucking road first. You know what I mean? Anyways, let me let me read this chat. I'm not gonna gamble, but you're throwing out info. Hey, right? So so yeah, so instead of gambling with my money, I gamble with my brain and my health by getting into a cage. But I'm able to stack those odds in my favor. You get what I'm saying? So, anyways, guys, yeah, get yourself a real one t-shirt if you're a fucking real one. I love you guys. Yeah, that's enough for today. I gotta go. I got shit to do, man. I gotta prepare for my girlfriend to move out here. We got big plans. You know what I'm saying? Maybe when she gets here, I'll go take her to see the ducks. You know what I'm saying? Like something. All right. Anyways, enough of that. Enough of me being fucking sappy as fuck. All right. I love you guys. Make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications because I go live every fucking day, but no telling when I'm gonna go live because it's a different